Hello, and welcome back to another episode of TJ's Financial Tip of the Week, sponsored by Triple H Financial Group, right here in the old Pueblo, Tucson, Arizona. Welcome back if you've been paying attention. If you haven't, well, welcome to our show for the first time. You can always go to my website and watch previous podcasts or episodes. My website is my name, tjhowe.com. That's tjhowe.com. Name of our company again is Triple H Financial Group, where we specialize in acting as safe money advisors. Our number one goal and number one priority is to help make sure you're able to get down the backside of your retirement mountain safely and securely. For those that haven't seen my previous episode, I use the example of Mount Everest as a metaphor for retirement planning. In this day and age, getting up Mount Everest, not too many people over the past 65 or 70 years since the first person did it have died going up. Going up is pretty easy. So I equate that to accumulation. Three types of advisors: accumulation advisors, distribution advisors, and preservation advisors. I am the last two categories. I'm a distribution and preservation specialist. So anybody can help you get up the mountain. Let's be real. You don't even need help. You could do it through a .com. Go to TD Ameritrade and start your own account and grow it. So anybody can get up the mountain for the most part. Put away a couple $100 a month, and you're going to get there. It's getting down the mountain. In fact, on Mount Everest, they call the top 3,000 feet the death zone. From 29 down to 26,000 feet is where the majority, about 90% of all the deaths that have ever occurred on the mountaintop, that's where they occur. It's because your adrenaline's worn off, your oxygen levels are low, you're tired, you're done, you're ready to get home. And so that's where they have to be the most careful. So when you hire a guide, they're called a Sherpa. When you hire a Sherpa on Mount Everest to get you up and back, it's not the getting up where they're really doing their job. It's the getting you back down where they're paying for themselves. Well, that's what type of advisor I am. So just to recap, we've been talking about the 5 ways to help safeguard your retirement income. Number 1, preparing and planning for the rising cost of healthcare. Number 2, longevity risk, which people are living a lot longer these days. The average age of a gentleman is 84.3, and the average age of a female in America is 86.6 these days. Quite a bit longer than, in the 1930s and 40s, Number 3 topic we discussed in some detail was inflation. That's a big one. We got to keep pace with inflation. And number 4 was having a portion of our investments continue to grow so we keep pace with inflation. And finally, today, topic number 5, which is a big deal, is moderate withdrawal rates using our nest egg or our retirement bucket of money. Moderately withdrawing the money out so that we don't run out of money too quickly. For example, let's say you could take $7,000 a month out of your nest egg, but maybe you don't take 7, maybe you take 5. Why? So you have that extra 2 to keep growing and going. So maybe 18 years from now, when you're still alive, you've got enough to keep you going for a few more years. Again, the number one fear in America, number 1 is running out of money before you run out of breath. So we're going to talk about that right now. Back in 1994, a gentleman by the name of William Bengen co-authored a study with Morningstar. Hopefully most of you know who Morningstar is, if you've heard the name. Morningstar is a rating company that rates mutual funds and investment companies. So they did a study in 1994, and they determined in order for a typical retirement portfolio to last you 30 years, we've determined that you shouldn't take out more than a 4% rate of return withdrawal rate, 4% withdrawal rate in order to keep it going. So let's use an example. Let's say you wanted to retire with $30,000 a year in income coming from your investments. This is on top of your Social Security. This is on top of your pensions if you have a pension. This is extra. So from your personal savings, you're telling me or your advisor, hey, I want $30,000 a year of income. So let's use the example. If we use the old 4% rule, that would require, you may want to write this down, but that would require $1,071,000 in your investment portfolio to spit out $30,000 a year at 4% rule so that it lasts a minimum of 30 years, 30 plus years. However, they had to revise that in 2013. Morningstar went back to the drawing board and said, well, wait a minute, we've been in a very depressed de-elevated or de-escalated inflationary rate for years and years. So the interest rates have been deflated. So they had to adjust that rating down to 2.8%. So now the deal is you would require something north of about 1.5 million to produce the same $30,000 per year that once only cost you about $1 million. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. That's a big difference. You need another $500,000 set aside in your nest egg. Well, where are you going to pull it? You got a tree in your backyard, it grows 20s maybe? I'd like to know about that if you do. But if you don't, that's a lot of money for a lot of people to come up with. All of a sudden, poof, you got to grow up by another $500,000. That's a 50% growth or uptick. That's a huge number. Okay, or we could use an example that I use. We could use something called a fixed indexed annuity. To give you the same example, to produce the same $30,000 a year that would require the first two either $1 million or $1.5 million, we could produce the same $30,000 per year with only $555,000 deposited into that fixed index annuity. So now if you have $1 million portfolio, you're not using the whole million to live on. You'd be able to give half of it to me, a safe money advisor, to plop in one of these fixed index annuities to produce the $30,000 a year you need in income. Guess what that allows you to do? Leave the other half in a growth-oriented bucket where we can moderately grow that up and up and up to keep pace with inflation. If we double it over the next 10 years, that 500 now grows back to $1 million. Guess what? We do it all over again. Pull out another $500,000, off to the races. So you get the topic, okay? You get the gist. So again, just to wrap up, we've talked about 5 topics over these past 5 episodes. Number 1 was the cost of healthcare, or the rising cost of healthcare, and preparing and planning. Number 2 was longevity. Plan on living longer because you're going to. Number 3 is covering the cost of inflation. Number 4 was making sure our portion of our assets continue to grow, keep pace with inflation. And finally, number 5, using a moderate rate of withdrawal or using a funding vehicle such as an annuity that would allow you to use less of your overall portfolio to go towards producing income so the rest of it can keep growing. Thanks for tuning in. Again, my website is tjhowe.com. That's tjhowe.com. Visit my email at tj@hhfinancial.com or give me a call at 520-977-5297. God bless. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you.